Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Colony. So this is a very interesting episode in the way it was done. Obviously, we got it like flipping back and forth between Jennifer as well as, the Bowman house, which is very interesting because it's like if you actually think about it, technically, a lot of the episode is really done from Jennifer's perspective because she's watching a lot of this. So, we're technically seeing everything from Jennifer's point of view if you, kind of technically think about it like that. There's a lot of stuff that came out that was discussed. Charlie's whole situation. It's like the fact is seeing, he's not the same little boy that they found because Charlie is very distant. There's even a point of him, they see him collecting oranges in the back, and Will kind of points out that's him stockpiling food. There's a whole situation when it came to Lindsay, when she originally came into the house, he didn't know who was coming, so he was hidden underneath the bed, and he had a knife with him. He even said something interesting about, when it came to Bram's situation. He's like, oh, Bram's in a labor camp, and she's like, how do you know about it? It's just kind of because he's not, it's a situation where, even Katie's kind of blinded or Gracie from the whole situation, not telling her that he's off somewhere but never really going into detail about it. But the fact of the matter is that Charlie knows a little bit more about it than she does. He even brings up the fact is that if Bram's going to have to survive in there, because she wanted to know what it was like. He was like, if Bram's in there, he has to change. That basically, he knows. I mean, it seems like the camp situation is very similar to the Santa Monica situation. It's like you either eat or be eaten type of situation. So, I mean, especially when we've seen the circumstances that Bram was under last episode, finding out the person that he kind of was close, the one friend he kind of had in a place ended up betraying him. Now he's got this whole Snyder situation. So it's kind of, like I said, he has to kind of make a decision. He has to change, get tougher essentially if he wants to survive in that place because it will eat him alive. But, Charlie would know from his own circumstances. And then there's the whole situation with Lindsay. He admitted from the very beginning, he was like, yeah, I don't like her. I think it's hard to say. I think it could be a combination of the fact is that she's just some random stranger interfering with his family's life. It's like, no, I don't want you here. The only people that should be here are my family. There's probably that. Plus the fact is that she's very adamant about the whole, the greatest day. She, being the way she is. The fact is, it's just like, oh, I prayed, to our host that you would come back. And he's like, no, they didn't help me. My dad did. She's like, well, with a little help from prayer. And so it just seemed like, but like I said, Charlie was like, yeah, I don't like her. And then Katie is like, I don't like her either. It's like, she should just go. And then, Katie kind of looks at him like, it's not that simple, I mean, because they still haven't really told Charlie the full circumstances. They still haven't told him that, Will works for the occupation and stuff like that. And but trailing back to it, it's also what he does to Lindsay. He ends up burning her book or something on the stove or whatever because she was cooking something, and he just burns her book, and she gets a little frazzled. I'm sure on multiple levels, just because it kind of freaked her out, and also too, it was a book too, and it's a book she holds so dear. So it's also you can draw your own conclusions from that. But it was just kind of interesting, and the fact is, you had Charlie sitting there unaffected. And you even she didn't say anything, but you see Katie looking at him like she knows what he did. I'm sure Will does too. It's not easy to, not hard to figure out who did it. There's only a few people in the house, so that kind of, I don't know. It's sad because a big part of this episode is fixing the family. The fact is that just everything's disjointed and broken, especially when you look at the head of the family. Well, for one, Bram's not there. He's in his circumstances. And then you have the situation with Will and Katie at odds with each other. He even saying, Katie, I loved you until you betrayed me. And she's like, but I still love you. It's just where do we go from here? Because there's been so many lies. She's like, I did everything, because she was trying to do the right thing. It's she wanted to do something that was more than just her and him. It's the fact is that she wanted to be, do something good, not just be the stay-at-home mom waiting for this whole situation to kind of handle it. So she wanted to do something. And then basically Will ends up telling her about the fact is, he tells her multiple things. The whole Devin situation, and the fact is that Charlie should, because even he had a conversation with Charlie because he was trying to get Charlie to open up a little bit because it's Charlie's so distant. And then you had him being like, it's okay to feel sad that Devin's dead. And he was like, I'm not sad. people die and just kind of walked away and brushed it off. Like, it's kind of like, like I said, it's sad to see him like that. But after everything he's been through, like, to me, like, obviously last episode kind of pointed it out, but it seems like it's still apparent that he hasn't brought it up to his mom, but definitely his dad, because he brought up the question last episode, like, why didn't you pick me up on time or something like that? Because it kind of would have been avoided this whole situation. So I think there is a part of him that does hold some animosity towards his dad, maybe his entire family, but at the same time, he's trying. It's not easy after everything because I think for one reason, it's because, he's kind of in a situation where it's like Santa Monica, there's trouble around every corner. If you're not careful, you will be killed, especially with everything that Solomon did to him, whatever that might have been, the whole, being kind of broken by Solomon and everything. And also, he's probably afraid that, like, if he settles in and lets his guard down, it'll all be taken away from him. Family will be taken from him, so he can't let his guard down. He can't go soft. He has to be always on his toes. But going back to it, Will ended up telling Katie about the whole Quail situation. It's like, I killed him for you. A man who was unarmed. I killed him in cold blood because I wanted to protect you. Because he was going to sell you and Broussard out, because that's something he hadn't told Katie. And there was, because it's like, because Katie's talking about how hard this whole situation is. Like, because Jennifer made her kind of confronted too. It's like, you realize how many people are dead because of you? And she's like, I think about it all the time. Like, she's saying that basically she's done with that. She's not going to be part of the resistance anymore because she wants her family back. And now she realizes just how much working with the resistance costs her. It's kind of in a position of costing her entire family. Her son's in trouble, because she feels like she wasn't there paying attention to the signs and everything because she was so busy with the resistance, and she lied and manipulated Will and everything. Like, as I'm going back to it, also getting a lot of people killed. It's like she has to live with that, and that's not an easy thing to do. And so Will also brings up the fact that what he did to Quell is like, he's a very honorable dude, and he went out of his way and killed an unarmed man. Which, like I said, this whole situation is Jennifer watching all of this unfold and all this information coming out. So. But ended up bringing up the fact is that Bram was not, how he got arrested and everything. And then that hits Will. He never says anything to Katie, not unless he did. If he did, we didn't get to see it. But the fact is, he got super pissed because he knows why Bram got caught. Because Bram went through that path that he and Bo kind of turned over to Schneider. Like, basically, they made up that lie, and that led to them finding that spot. So if it wasn't for them, Bram wouldn't be in the situation he's in right now, so he blames himself. Because at the end of the episode, he tells, like, her, there's no more lies. Like, we can't lie to each other anymore, which begged the question, did he tell her? Because if not, that's kind of lying. Not kind of, that's straight up lying because you're not telling her everything. But it also seems like there might be something else to it as well, because Katie turns away, and it's almost like there's a part of her hiding something that she's not really sure she should tell him the truth about. Because she's saying, she kind of brings up what she said to Jennifer, because she brings up the whole Jennifer situation. It's like, there's nothing I can give her. Like, I could just offer myself, and she's like, I'm scared, it's all I can do. And Will basically is like, don't worry, I'll talk to Jennifer. It's like, maybe we can trust her. And Will's like, no, because she'll break easily. She's not trained for this. She's weak. I'll just use her, pretend like I'm her friend. And that breaks Jennifer. Because literally the entire time he's been gone, all Jennifer has done is protect you and your family. And it's like, you're going to talk crap about her like that. That sucks. It sucks because she's bending over backwards, even having like, what's his name? Detective Burke. He used to basically be part of IA. He's going through like, rummaging through her life, trying to dig up any information he can, trying to see like where she goes, like finding out the situation. Like, she's obviously lying and everything. She's like, oh yeah, Bo went missing, so I've been keeping an eye on Will because, there might be some connection there, protocol and everything. Still lying about who gave her the information. Because the new boss is like, I'm trying to help you out here. Tell me how you're getting this information. Whoever your source is, let me know, because you can't, because I'm starting, he's starting to think like, okay, you're part of something. I don't know whether you're willingly lying to me or you're trying to do the good thing and trying to cover for a colleague, but whatever the case may be, tell me so I can help you out. You could be a part of my team, like trust building. And like, she's also dealing with the fact is that Burke's rummaging through her entire life, because basically there's like I forgot what they actually call it. It's basically a surveillance place where a whole bunch of people sit on the computers and they run surveillance. And it's like, okay, we're going to have access to everything in your life. We're going to know exactly what you do and where you go. We're going to basically turn your life upside down if you don't help us. Because basically, Burke could see through it. He's like, my days in IA taught me, I know you're lying about something. But then, like I said, that whole situation with Will saying what he did pissed Jennifer off, and she was ready to sell him out but she just couldn't. And that's kind of going back to it. It sucks that Will said that about her. Jennifer is tough. She held out, like, even though it's costing her this job, and it's just like, she's the one that had to handle things while Will was away. She had a lot of responsibility, keeping his secrets, the whole situation about Katie. Like, she could have sold her out and made life easier for herself. Because she even questioned, she was talking to another employee, and she was like, should I do that? And she's like, oh, you should take care of yourself. I mean, because she's like, I might, I'll be, conscience clear, and also at the same time, I will also, probably get a promotion out of it, especially because she found out about but at the same time, it's a combination of many different things. Seeing him with his family, seeing Will with his family, seeing his family so disjointed and broken, it touched her, especially when she saw his son laying on the floor, can't even sleep in his own bed just because it just doesn't fit right. And Gracie coming to sleep right beside him, like, trying to make that connection. And it hit her, and you see her tearing up and everything. Because she knows that she can't sell Will out, because especially he just got his son back. He's trying to piece his family together. She's been there witnessing it, hearing the conversations, hearing just how hard they're trying. She couldn't do that to their family, reflecting on her own circumstances, because at the end of the episode, she ends up going back home, and she watches a video on an old a phone of hers that she had hidden away, and she watches videos of her. Like I said, I can't remember if it's her fiance or husband, but he ended up, he's no longer with her, and basically we see her having wine and she's popping pills. So I don't know whether it's a circumstance of like she's just trying to numb herself by getting high, because it's like now she kind of got downgraded. She no longer has her job and any benefits that come along with it. So now she's kind of working in surveillance. So either she's like ODing herself, like going to like kill herself, or she's just like, to me, I was literally expecting, I was like, maybe she felt like there was nothing else. Like that job was kind of the only thing that kept her going. It gave her something to do to kind of keep her mind away from, like, put her in a position where she didn't have to worry about things as much. Like, now reality's kind of setting in a little bit, I guess, and it's just, I don't know, I was halfway expecting her to kill herself, but I mean, I don't know if that's the case. Like I said, we see her at the end taking another one, so, and she's got them all laid out on the table, so maybe that's the case, or maybe she's just trying to numb herself, like I said. So what we did see at the very end, though, is like a camera pulling back out and obviously seeing the surveillance, but no one was watching that particular computer, because obviously they said they're going to basically turn her life upside down. So I don't know how to interpret that. Either it's like, oh, they're keeping an eye on her, like she's still under their watch, which I'm sure she might know. I mean, at the very least she can assume. Basically, I guess it's also supposed to kind of reflect the fact is that it's like she was watching Will while she was being watched, essentially. Now she's in the same position that she put Will in with all the cameras and stuff like that. Which was kind of interesting, finding out that Will ended up figuring out. He saw that the smoke alarm didn't go off. He thought it was weird. Him and Katie's like, oh, let's go into the shower and everything. And he whispers in her ear, we're being watched. The fire alarm has been, the smoke detector has been bugged. And it's like, we don't know if the rest of the place has been bugged too. So it's like, we have to be careful. Like, this isn't a safe place to talk anymore. So, like I said, I don't know. Like, I guess really that empty desk was supposed to represent her new job. Like, I mean, I don't know. That could mean anything, because it's one of those things I feel like maybe it'll kind of get covered next episode, but it seems like something that's kind of opened up to your own interpretation as to what that could mean. I'm sitting here thinking about the whole Katie situation. Like, I still do feel like she is holding stuff back, especially, like I said, because she never really told Will the fact is of her connection to Broussard. Because, like I said, like, she lied about it. Like, she said, like, oh, like, Broussard, she kind of knew him from, like, a bar or whatever like that. It's like, no, like, when Broussard came into her bar before the arrival, she talked to him like she knew him. Like, oh, I haven't seen you in a couple years. So it's like, there's definitely something there. And maybe she lied about the fact is that she can't get in contact with Broussard because probably he's still on her side. Because another thing is, like, because at the beginning of the episode, because I brought her up last time, I was like, I'm surprised we haven't seen Helena. Isn't it I saw her, I was like, oh, Helena. I was like, no, I made that mistake last time, didn't it? It's Helen, right? Either way, you know who I'm talking about. I don't know. I don't think I brought this up last time, but I kept wondering, maybe I brought it in the first episode, but I definitely kept wondering, like, why I recognized her. I was like, what do I know her from? And I was like, oh yeah, Longmire. She was kind of his most recent girlfriend. I literally looked it up a lot, like, when I saw her again at the beginning of the season, because I was trying to remember where I recognized her. I think the actress's name is Allie Walker. But I was trying to remember where I saw her from, and then it was like looked at her Wikipedia. So, oh, Longmire, that's right. I mean, that's what happens when something I haven't watched something. You know, when you Netflix a series, you kind of binge on it all at once, so certain things kind of fly from your brain. But I just kept wondering, like, why do I recognize it? Either way, she's basically in front of like a large group, kind of a committee that basically is deciding like what to do about LA. She brings up the fact is that they're doing everything they can to find that device that's taken from the host, trying to crush this whole insurgency thing. It's like, we even replaced Snyder as proxy and stuff like that, put someone else in charge. And basically it came down to a vote. They're like, okay, basically, like, how can we really be sure that you got this whole situation under control? It's like, I suggest we go for total rendition, which is like, I'm assuming like just burn the city to the ground. I can only assume, probably not the case, just, whatever the case may be, like, she was super like relieved when they said no. That's what I can only assume, just like, because there was another place they brought up last season that basically a similar circumstance happened where basically a host died in a particular city and they basically leveled the entire city or something like this, kind of a wasteland or something. And I think the same thing is kind of what the total rendition was, but it literally came down to a vote to decide LA's fate, and they were just that close. So now it's up to her to kind of get everything in order. There's also that thing about that pen she switched out. She dropped it and then she picked it up. Well, no, she swapped it for a different one, but when she was at the meeting or whatever, when they were making that decision, she dropped it, but she never bothered picking it up. I'm wondering if that's supposed to be something connected to her old life. Because at the beginning I saw her, I was like, oh, maybe we're delving into her past as well as someone else's past, but it's like, no, that turned out not to be the case, so... because the episode's set in the present and everything, so... But the point I'm bringing up is the fact is that, we still haven't 100% seen what the Resistance has been up to since they... I mean, obviously we got a little look last episode, but definitely, like... what Rossard as well as the others did with that device, like what that means, like getting it. Like I'm very curious to see what happens, like in that regard. Because I do feel like Katie's lying about the whole Rossard thing, because there's a lot more to that than she's ever said, and she still hasn't really brought up the fact that so I'm thinking she still can get in contact with Rossard because they're so close and everything. And then also to find out what happens with Jennifer. Did she kill herself? Is she just getting high, trying to numb herself? What does that mean for Will and her? I mean, especially because Will's like, oh, wait, what happened to Jennifer? Oh, she didn't turn me in. And it's like, oh, and then probably go back to her and find out, like, yeah, she's the one that had his place. But, I mean, there's just so many different directions everything can go. So I'm just, very good episode. Like I said, it was very interesting the way it was done. So really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.